Surplus Sorcery and Sigil Splicing. Allow me to fill your mind with a picture before we get started here. In a school cafeteria, a blond little boy apprehensively eyes a bowl of red and blue M&Ms. Blond little boy asks for green M&Ms. An elderly Mr. Fox says, "You can have red or blue." The blond little boy protests, "But I want some green and maybe yellow, perhaps purple." "Well, you need Psyonics, the green M&Ms. All right, before we dive into the heart of the matter, lords and ladies, we need to increase the Robin Hood Project, the Project Monopoly Man. Those of you who have worked with my Fusion 5 key on my social network, spread this to all your friends. I have had great results myself, and just recently, one of my great club members, Brian, has just said that he really got some great results with the Fusion 5 key, and money is coming into people's bank accounts. That's really great. That's really great news. Now, before we dive into sigils, let's talk about the world. And we're going to go into my point of view. Let's begin with church people. Yes, Herr Dr. von Verloc, the heretic here. My view of the church people, especially those in the business, is one of energy. And I often simplify things in the world, or the various institutions and information outlets, by looking at them as energy forms. They are often thinking they are better than other people. There's a high degree of arrogance there. I've encountered that myself. And they love talking about their business. They have no consideration for somebody else's. And generally, the energy of money pulls away from us and goes to them. Hasn't it been that way for thousands of years? Well, psionics breaks their bonds between us and them. We then redirect our own path. That road, paved by our psionics, is refashioned into whatever we want it to be. You know, back in my career life, when I was a technical writer in engineering, among other things, that career was devastated by people whom had these collective ideals on the political spectrum and, in other cases, religious perceptions. You know, it's real sad what the globalists have done to the roles of moms and dads played, grandparents. We could all be so much happier and live in peace without the UN and the MIC. The MIC is the military-industrial complex, and the global banksters. Get that in your head right now, and you will be one step forward to the road leading to true freedom. And it's a very hard world right now because the individual is the test. It's your challenge. Step up to that challenge now and reap the benefits and rewards in the life here on after and in the nether world. The only way out is to stop believing the information infrastructure of the established. Period. You know, people come to me with interest in working with the spirits of sigils. Yes, we're getting into sigils now. But also people then express fear of the demons attributed to these sigils. Club member Lenny, for example, mentioned he was a little worried coming from a Christian background. Now, I believe that we've all been had. We've been tricked and lied to in what we believe in worldwide. These sigils are liberators, not punishers. Hell, the church has ever been the punisher. It's easier to begin the journey into greater mind psionic power when we get rid of the old scheist. And that's the truth. Now let's talk sigils a bit more. Disruptions. Well, disruption patterns are probably the most widely employed sigils of all. Firing a disruption may cause some disturbance in a target, but not always. And this frustrates people, I understand. The descriptions of sigils should be taken with a grain of salt. My old mentor used to say to me, never believe what you read from someone else about spirits. Remember, most such images, sigils, have been cleaned up and re-illustrated because they sell better if they look crisp and clean. We can blame the publishing houses such as Llewellyn, but, well, we really can't blame them. They're in the business of making money, so of course they're going to clean those images up and sell what looks good. Your path connecting you to a sigil may be very different than someone else. Likewise, targets align with those transmitted sigils in different ways from us, whereas one target may be devastated by a disruption pattern, and yet another target becomes stronger or is not afflicted by any means whatsoever. And I've experienced this when firing disruptions at psychopaths and sociopaths. Sometimes it doesn't affect them the same way that it affects other people. Now, there are tricks around this. When you join my club, you begin to unfold and realize this relationship that you must build with these sigils in order to work them more profoundly and effectively. What I can tell you now is to meditate on which sigils are speaking to you. That is, those sigils that call your attention to them. Then begin the communion process, working with the Miraculous Prayer Board Mini, working with radionics, and so on, meditation, amplifying patterns. From there, we can call the Spirit to show us how to splice its energy to craft constructs to work on our behalf. And that's a very interesting area of psionic magic that I've developed called Cyanic Splicing and Psionic Robots. For example, Emperor Carnesial, chiefest emperor in the east of wandering spirits, was drawing my attention to his sigil. Now, I had printed out the sigil, meaning to work with his sigil at some point, and it was just sitting there in this little photo album. That's how I keep my sigils and printouts in a photo album. And it was sitting in the cabinet behind me for quite an extensive period of time, some months, and it kept calling to the back of my mind. So I decided to put aside what I was working on that night and do some communion with Emperor Carnesial. Answers I received were things like, aim higher, don't obsess over these small battles, and splice this energy from this sigil into your construct to help you. And I literally could feel the presence of Emperor Carnesial sort of looking over my shoulder, coming into the back of my mind, the back of my head, and helping me to come to these answers that I so much needed. Now, these sigils of ancient gods need to be highly regarded as, well, like H.P. Lovecraft's The Great Old Ones. They are immortal, and these are the true power beings in the universe that are there to help us. They, like I said before, they are not punishers, they are liberators. The church, the temple, these things, the establishment, church and state, these are the punishers. I mean, just look at the Miranda rights, not to go off on a tangent here, but look at the Miranda rights. Whatever you say or do can and will be used against you in a court of law. That's a threat. And those are the words of a punisher. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe our society is being ruled by total psychotics? Yeah, well, Like I said, the sigils of these ancient gods that they have demonized and villainized the religions of the world, they are not the punishers, they are liberators. In fact, I have a great story about that, where I was visited upon many times by shadowy forms, supernatural forces as a child, and they do come at times in somewhat of a frightening image or presence, but that is to shake us awake and get our attention. And once we do, we get past that first veil, so to speak, and then it starts to open up for us. And I was drawn to this bookstore, and a book fell from the shelf at my feet, and it said Cyanic Power by Charles W. Cosmano, who then, the author of that book, became my teacher at length. And these spirits that were in the back of his book, the sigils, the 72 sigils of Solomon, supposedly, they began to speak to me more. I was shown visions of going to Japan, and I did indeed go to Japan. Well, anyway, with this, I want to leave the portal open to you so that you may learn splicing from my books, such as Cyanic Splicing, and powerful anthropomorphic constructs, that is, radionics in the form of human-like beings, robot beings, and that's in my book, Cyanic Robot. And then, furthermore, to really live the magical lifestyle that weaves all of these various knowledges together into a clear and coherent path before you, is that you must join my club. That's at Vrlock.club, VRILOCK.club. Well, this concludes our merry little gathering tonight on Planet Vrlock, and until next time, my friends, keep the magic high. This is our Dr. von Vrlock,